Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. According to the FPI, Texas is back. But I'm not going to believe it until I actually see it. We're continuing to take a look at all of the FPI predictions for every single Power 5 conference. And today, guys, we are jumping right on in to the Big 12. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to start talking about these predictions right now. Again, not our predictions, the Football Power Index predictions. Our predictions will be coming out here in just a few weeks. But the Big 12, according to the FPI, is very, very interesting. There are a lot of surprises within these predictions here. I think the biggest for many would be the fact that they have Texas at the top of the standings, making the Big 12 championship game at 9-3, 1 year after going 5-7. So they have the Longhorns having one of the biggest turnarounds out of any program in the entire country. 5-7 to 9-3. Can Quinn Ewers do that at quarterback for Texas? Can Steve Sarkisian right the ship in Austin? I think that's the biggest shock here. We're not necessarily ruling it out. Again, we're not predicting anything now, so we're not saying that's an impossible thing for Texas to make the Big 12 championship. But to go again from 5-7 to a team that was just mediocre last year that blew a bunch of leads. They could have been much better, but had a bunch of blown leads. 5-7, no bowl to the top of the conference standings and one win away from winning the entire conference. That's a shock. That's a major shock. And I think sometimes with these FPI predictions, I think they give these teams with bigger name brands a couple extra boosts. Your teams like Texas or Florida State or guys like that typically have not been great in recent years, but because of the name brand, they boost them up a little bit. And I think they're doing that here with Texas. Right behind Texas, you have Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. So you have a three-way tie for first. And according to these standings, you would have Texas and Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game. The Sooners in at 9-3 in their first year under Brent Venables. Oklahoma State made the Big 12 championship game last year, won the Fiesta Bowl over Notre Dame. They have them in at 9-3. And I think it's interesting here, guys, to see that no Big 12 team, according to the FPI, they have with double-digit wins. There's not a team on here they have winning at least 10 games, which means regardless of who were to win the Big 12 championship, if these predictions became true, there wouldn't be no Big 12 team in the running for the college football playoff. Not a chance. Last year we had a couple. Baylor was slightly in the running. If Oklahoma State had defeated Baylor in that championship game, they could have gotten in, maybe over a team like Cincinnati. But according to this, no team would be in the running for the Big 12 to make that Final Four. So those are your top three. Baylor, the reigning Big 12 champions, they have in at 8-4. Baylor, a team that again won the Big 12, won 12 games on the year, including the Sugar Bowl over Ole Miss. They have them taking a major step back, going 8-4, only finishing fourth in the conference. And yes, Baylor is dealing with a bunch of new changes. They've got a new quarterback in Blake Shapen, who actually led them to that Big 12 championship when Gary Bohannon was out. It would be insane, honestly, to expect Baylor to repeat with 12 wins again. But they absolutely are Big 12 title contenders again. And really, they're only one game separated from first place. So it is kind of a tight race here between these top four. But Baylor, they do have taking a major step back. Iowa State, despite losing Brock Purdy, despite losing Breece Hall, despite losing a handful of starters on defense and breaking in a brand new quarterback in Hunter Deckers, they have the Cyclones going 7-5. And I think if they're doing that, a lot of that's probably in credit to the coaching of Matt Campbell. Because I think Iowa State's going to go through a couple growing pains here. It's about the same season they had last year. Very disappointing one for them, but now I think in 2022, 7-5 would be great. Cyclones right now missing their opportunity to win a Big 12 title with all the talent they had those last couple of years. Last year was a year many thought they could take that next step. They failed miserably. The 7-5 in 2022 would be considered a pretty big success. Over on here, so that's your top five, top half of the Big 12. Here's your bottom half of the Big 12. Kansas State and TCU, the only other teams over here that are going bowling. So that would be 7 of the 10 teams that the FPI predicts to go bowling out of the Big 12. Kansas State 6-6 under Chris Kleiman. That's been about average for him. Anywhere from 6 to 8 wins is about average during his time in Manhattan. But I think people with Adrian Martinez and Deuce Vaughn and a slightly improving defense, they would expect Kansas State to be a bit better than 6-6. At least 7 or 8 wins, I think, would be the expectation for the Wildcats this year. But again, a bowl game is what they need. That's certainly what TCU needs as well. I think TCU would be ecstatic just getting back to the postseason. New head coach in Sonny Dykes kind of fell off a little bit towards the end of the Gary Patterson era. So if Sonny Dykes can come in year one and just get the Horned Frogs to that postseason, get them to a bowl game, I think the Horned Frog faith will be pretty pleased with that heading into that next year. Then your bottom three here, guys, the three teams that will not go bowling: Texas Tech and West Virginia, both at 5-7. I think West Virginia sitting at 5-7 is probably the more surprising mark here than Texas Tech. Now, granted, the Red Raiders did make a bowl game last year. They won that bowl game in dominating fashion over Mississippi State. They break in a brand new head coach in Joey McGuire. Have a bit of a quarterback battle going on there, but Donovan Smith, I thought, filled the gap perfectly for Tyler Shugg. And I think I could easily see the Red Raiders getting to that 6-win mark, no doubt about it. But West Virginia, with the addition of JT Daniels, that kind of gave everybody some hope for the Mountaineers and thought, hey, we can go bowling. We can win 6 or 7 games, not win the Big 12 by any means, but that was a huge get for a Mountaineers program that was going to struggle at the quarterback position before they landed Daniels. And so, despite adding him, the FPI still has West Virginia at 5-7 and not even making a bowl game. And I think that would be very, very disappointing for West Virginia and would more than likely spell the end of the Neil Brown era in Morgantown. I really do believe that. And then finally, guys, I don't think it's a surprise to see Kansas last in the Big 12, coming in at 3-9. You saw a Kansas team last year that showed signs of life. They upset Texas and Austin, had a couple close losses down the stretch. They were a little more competitive than we had seen in years past, and I think we give a lot of credit to Lance Leipold for that. But Kansas still a ways away from really contending in the Big 12, from contending for that postseason berth. Again, Kansas has been a major struggle since about 2007, 2008. Lance Leipold, I believe, is getting them there. I believe he's the man to start riding the ship, and you could see Kansas be in bowl contention by year 3, by next year. But I think 2022 is still going to be a rough outing for the Jayhawks, and the FPI agrees. 3-9 and 3 wins for Kansas honestly would not be that bad, especially if 1 or 2 of those came in conference play. So there you go, guys. Those are your Football Power Index predictions for the Big 12. Again, not our predictions. Our Gridiron Expert predictions will be coming out here in just a few weeks. We'll be breaking down every single one of these teams, every single one of those games on their schedule. But we wanted to take a look at some of the national predictions, how ours might stack up to theirs. We can promise you they're going to be a lot more entertaining. We can promise you they're going to be a lot more accurate. The FPI, though, every year is just a lot of fun to look at, whether you agree or disagree. So once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, become a part of what we're building here at the channel, become a part of our GE Nation. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.